I don't wanna talk about that, 'cause I got the love of a beautiful woman. There's nothing's gonna take her place. She make me feel just like a natural born winner when I'm not even in the race. That's why they call me Mr. Lucky, and I thank my stars above. You can call me Mr. Lucky, 'cause I'm lucky in love. Never had a whole lot of money. I was never good at games of chance. When I'm playing cards with my buddies, where the money flies right out of my pants. Don't you know I got a little secret? It's the ace of hearts up my sleeve. And when I get home to my honey, she give me love like you wouldn't believe. Yeah, they call me Mr. Lucky, and I thank my stars above. You can call me Mr. Lucky, 'cause I'm lucky in love. When I'm walking through my neighborhood, everybody knows I'm feeling good. See me smiling from my head to my feet. They say, ain't that Mr. Lucky coming down the street? Hey, that's me. I'm Mr. Lucky when you kiss my lips, when you touch me with your fingertips. I'm Mr. Lucky when you hold me tight. I'm Mr. Lucky when we kiss goodnight. Baby, they call me Mr. Lucky, and I thank my stars above. You can call me Mr. Lucky, 'cause I'm lucky in love. Call me Mr. Lucky, and I thank my stars above. You can call me Mr. Lucky, 'cause I'm lucky in love. Call me Mr. Lucky in love. Call me Mr. Lucky in love. You know that's right. Baby, 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 baby.
Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What's shaking on your Friday? Good to see everybody. We got Sunday Jenna cooking dinner with the Tom Gully Show. I'm going to assume there won't be any seafood in that dinner. Let's see, the lovely and talented Karen Garvey is here with us on a Friday, because you know how much I love these Friday shows. But I'm really looking forward to this one, because I am going to tell you about Live Aid. Yes, you can say it. Thank you, boomers. Thank you. Thank us. It's okay. Hey, you know, as always, you can go to the TomGullyShow.com. There's 270 podcasts there. One of them is sure to interest you. One, maybe. You know, our merchandise store is there, where you can get things like a clock. That's Terry Nee's clock. I hope he's here a little later. And you can also just go to cafepress.com/the Tom Gully Show and get top quality name brand merchandise, sure to beguile and charm you. And it's a focal point of praise and pleasure that adds a warmth and glow to any room. Yeah, we got plenty of that stuff. If you'd like to just donate, and oh boy, it would be nice if somebody donated, you can go to paypal.me/Tom Gully Show, or you can go to our Patreon. All the information's down in the crawl. And that's the stuff I'm too scared to put out on the internet without, having a barrier of some kind. need a barrier for that. We really do. What was I going to say here? There's a bunch of stuff. Of course, our good friends at Sonic Asylum Radio, they really crank it up for the weekend. They've been a great, great friend of our program for quite some time. SonicAsylumRadio.com tomorrow or the next day. You'll be able to listen to Metal Maiden Vicky's, Metal Euphoria, tons of other great shows. And you're supporting also our good friend George from Halloween, the band, and he's the founder of Sonic Asylum Radio. Steve Bello, an amazing guitarist, just a bunch of great people, and we'd appreciate it if you give them a little support because they stream our show on their Facebook page. So good for them. Good for them. We'll wait another 2 or 3 minutes here, and then we'll get down to cases. I almost didn't do a show today because I'm super tired, but that's okay because we've got, yes, the full Red Bull that actually fills out the koozie today. I was going to do a show called Let Me Tell You About Not Prepping for a Show, but instead we are doing Live Aid today. So, yeah, there's Karen Garvey. She's wishing everybody a happy Friday. Hope you guys got a great weekend planned and there's lots of relaxation and good times. I guess there's, St. Patrick's Day is coming up for everyone. Everybody's saying hi to each other. You know, we love a cheerful chat room. Gotta have a cheerful chat room. Today's pre-show warm-up music, there was a lot of it because I got ready so early. There was the usual U2 live from Red Rocks, Under a Blood Red Sky. Then I went into some Charlie Robison. And then after that, it was all, and there's 2 bands I want to tell you guys about that you must listen to. One of them is the Hitman Blues Band. Now, if you go listen to some of those 270 podcasts, nearly all of them end with Catch-22 Blues by my good friends at the Hitman Blues Band. And the head guy there, his name is Russell Alexander, and he is a dude, man. Wears a... Well, never mind. You just check them out. The Hitman Blues Band. I think they're the best blues band practicing in the country today. My own opinion. They go over to England every year for a couple of tours. They're just awesome. And then Lake Street Dive. If you haven't gotten into Lake Street Dive, because that was my pre-show regimen right up to the ending today, was Lake Street Dive. Make sure and check them out. I recommend the songs You Go Down Smooth, Nobody Knows What I'm Doing Here. Let's see. What's the one? Let's see. Call Off Your Dogs, God Awful Things. There's just too many to list. So with all that being said, let me get my thing going here because you guys know how I like to get my thing going before the show. And that's pretty much a requirement. If my thing's not going before the show, we're not going to have a show. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. This was such an amazing thing. Just such an amazing thing. Oh, hey, Randy Ramos, the chef himself, and his crew are in the house. So those folks are in Union Station in Indianapolis getting ready for that big Friday rush, and they are listening to this, the Tom Gully Show. Let me tell you something. You guys are awesome. You're going to make a lot of people happy tonight with your incredible delicacies, and I thank you for it. So you guys rock. At any rate, let me tell you about Live Aid, okay? Now, Live Aid, and it's kind of cool because we've got people in here that will remember, but was a multi-venue, yes, not one venue, multi-venue benefit concert held on Saturday, the 13th of July in 1985. And it was also a huge fundraising initiative, okay? There's more behind this than just a rock lineup that will never, ever be equaled. As you can see on the poster, the official poster that I have up right now, it took place at Wembley Stadium in England and JFK in Washington, D.C. So yes, it was a multi-venue thing. The original event was organized by Bob Geldorf, I'll put his picture up later, and Midge Ure to raise funds to help the relief of the 1983 to 1985 famine in Ethiopia. And it started with the release of an incredibly successful single for Charity called Do They Know It's Christmas in December of '84. And it was billed as a global jukebox. Now, that Do They Know It's Christmas was done over in England, and it later was sort of imitated with a song. We're going to do a show about USA for Africa and We Are the World. We'll do that one at another time. But it was attended by 72,000 people in Wembley Stadium and 89,000 people in Philly. Behind me is the stage in Philadelphia at nighttime. Now, I do need to apologize. The photos for this are not public domain. I really couldn't find any of the in-performance live awesome stuff. I try to get close to it on an occasion or two, but you know, kind of threw a wrench in it for me today here. So anyway, there was a big promoter named Harvey Goldsmith who is responsible for the Wembley thing, and Bill Graham, legendary producer Bill Graham, who had many venues. One of them was on the West Coast and is somewhat of a legendary place. Bill Graham, incidentally, is in Apocalypse Now when the hot girls land. Bill Graham is the guy that's in charge of that in the movie. He's on screen and stuff, but. The concert, once word of it leaked and that this was going to happen, started to grow in scope. And one major artist would say yes, and seeing this, other major artists would start to join, and it just sort of exploded. The mayor of Philadelphia was able to get a 3-hour primetime slot on ABC, and then it just started snowballing, okay? So the concert began at 12 o'clock. Why don't I put up Bob Geldorf here real quick for you so you guys can see him. He's sort of the front man of the Boomtown Rats. You may remember their hit song, I Don't Like Mondays, which is one of my favorite songs. At any rate, it started at noon in Great Britain, and at 7 in, let's see here. That noon start time was 7 o'clock in the morning in the United States, okay? And that's when it began at Wembley in the United Kingdom. And it continued at JFK starting like at almost 9 o'clock at night. Now, the Wembley performances ended around 7 o'clock at night in the United States. There was about an hour, maybe a little longer, almost 2 before the U.S. performances began. The JFK performance and the whole concert in the U.S. ended at, the next day, sort of at, it ended that night at 11:05. The concert just went on for 16 hours, but many artists were performing at the same time. So the length of it, if you were to sort of stitch it together, was much longer than that. Mick Jagger and David Bowie had intended to perform a transatlantic duet with Bowie in London and Jagger in Philadelphia, but that synchronization, they just couldn't make it happen. So the only practical solution was to have one artist, probably Bowie, mime along to pre-recorded vocals during the broadcast, and veteran music engineer Dave Richards of Pink Floyd and Queen was brought in to create footage and sound mixes and all those other stuff. But after they tried to bounce it back and forth by satellite, Richards concluded there was no way for Jagger to hear or see Bowie's performance, meaning there could be no interaction between the artists, and that defeated the point of the whole thing. Plus, both of these artists objected to the idea of miming pre-recorded stuff at this historic event. So instead, Jagger and Bowie worked with Richards to create a video of the song they would have performed, a cover of Dancing in the Street, which was shown on the screens of both stadiums and broadcast as part of the network coverage. So each of the two main parts of the concert ended with an all-star lineup. In other words, everybody that had performed at that venue doing Do They Know It's Christmas in the UK and USA for Africa's We Are the World in the United States. Concert organizers subsequently said they were wanting to have at least one surviving member of the Beatles, ideally Paul McCartney, take place in this concert as the elder statesman of British music, and it would make it more legitimate, okay? So finally, his children persuaded him to take part, and during the event, he was the last performer, aside from those two finales, to take to the stage. And even though there were numerous bands, numerous setups, he was one of the few that had technical difficulties. His microphone failed for the last 2 minutes of his piano performance of Let It Be, and nobody could hear him. He later joked by saying he had thought about changing the lyrics to, "There will be some feedback, let it be." One artist, Mr. Phil Collins, performed at both Wembley and JFK, traveling from Wembley by helicopter, okay, to London's Heathrow. You guys hear the ice cream guy? I swear to you, I'm going to do something about that. What in the world is somebody... Oh, please. Phil Collins performed at both places, like I was telling you. Like I was just telling you, you know, like I was saying when I was saying what I was saying. So anyway, he takes a helicopter to London's Heathrow Airport and then took the Concorde to New York City, then took another helicopter to Philadelphia. As well as his own set at both of these venues, he also played the drums for Eric Clapton, and he played with the reuniting surviving members of Led Zeppelin at JFK. On the Concorde flight, Collins encountered actress and singer Cher. She didn't know anything about the concerts. So when she reached the United States, Cher attended the Philadelphia concert and can be seen as part of the We Are the World finale. In a 1985 interview, Billy Joel stated that he had considered performing at the event, but ultimately chose not to because he had difficulties getting his band together, and he didn't really want to perform by himself. He just didn't. He didn't want to do that. Let's give you another picture to look at here. This is the Philadelphia site during the day. The nighttime is behind me, and we all know the nighttime is the right time, right? ABC was responsible for the U.S. broadcast and only did the last 3 hours of the concert. Dick Clark was the host, and an entirely separate and simultaneous U.S. feed was provided by MTV for cable viewers, and that was broadcast in stereo and accessible for those with stereo TVs. Now, at the time, before multi-channel television sound was enacted nationwide, very few televisions had the stereo signals, and it was ad-free in the BBC, but MTV and ABC, of course, had ads, because that's the way we are. As a result, many songs were omitted due to the commercial breaks, and these songs were played, during the ads. Yeah. I will take a little side detour here. I watched this whole thing because the whole thing was on MTV. Now, they were switching back and forth during the overlapped parts, but I watched the entire thing on MTV. It was the greatest thing ever, I'm telling you. And my girlfriend had MTV, so I went there and hung out with her for the whole thing. The Coldstream Guards opened things up at Wembley with Royal Salute and a brief version of the national anthem, God Save the Queen. Status Quo. Maybe you guys don't remember them, but they're a big British band. They were the first act to appear and started their set with Rockin' All Over the World. They played Caroline and a fan favorite called Don't Waste My Time. The last appearance of the band with two of their founding members was at Live Aid. Princess Diana and Prince Charles were among those in attendance. Now, Bob Geldorf performed with the rest, of the Boomtown Rats, singing "I Don't Like Mondays," and then let's see here. Elvis Costello came out and said, he asked the audience, hey, hold on a second here. I got to show you guys something. Just for this event, I did, of course, wear one of my many Elvis Costello t-shirts. Elvis Costello came out and he asked the audience to help him sing this old Northern English folk song, and then had the entire however many thousand, I think it was 62, 89, I don't know. He had them sing in unison along with him. He just had his guitar and did "All You Need Is Love." The whole crowd sang it. Then came a penultimate moment in rock and roll history, and that was the 21-minute performance by Queen. Now, we'll get to this later, but this is a historic performance, okay? It began at 6:41 p.m. This was voted the greatest live performance in the history of rock in a 2005 industry poll of more than 60 artists, journalists, and music industry executives. Freddie Mercury at times led the crowd in unison, and his sustained, "Ayo," that came to be heard as the note heard round the world. The band's 6-song set, try saying that 5 times fast, opened with a shortened version of Bohemian Rhapsody and closed with "We Are the Champions." According to the BBC's presenter David Hepworth, their performance produced the greatest display of community singing the old stadium, Wembley Stadium, had seen, and cemented Queen's position as the most loved British rock group since the Beatles. Later in the evening, Freddie Mercury and guitarist Brian May performed the first song of the 3-part Wembley finale, "Is This the World We Created?" Other well-received performances on the day included those by U2 and David Bowie. Both The Guardian and the Rolling Stone have called Live Aid an event that made stars of U2. The band played a 12-minute rendition of "Bad." The length of "Bad" limited them to just 2 songs. The third, "Pride in the Name of Love," had to be dropped. During the "Bad" performance, Bono jumped off the stage to join the crowd, danced with the teenage girl, and in 2005, the woman said that he had saved her life. She was being crushed by people pushing forward. Bono saw this and gestured frantically. By the way, you can see this on YouTube, at the ushers to help her. They didn't understand what he was saying, so he jumped down to help her himself. Rolling Stone described David Bowie's performance as arguably Bowie's last triumph of the 80s, observing that as approximately 2 billion people sang along to "We Can Be Heroes," or Heroes, he still seemed like one of the biggest and most vital rock stars around the world. He also did one of my favorite Bowie songs that many of you may not be familiar with, called TVC-15. According to Ultimate Classic Rock, Phil Collins also performed an especially crowd-pleasing selection of songs, and the transatlantic broadcast from Wembley suffered technical problems and failed. During the Who's performance of their opening song, "My Generation," immediately after Roger Daltrey sang, "Why don't you all just fade away?" The last word "away" was cut off when a blown fuse caused the Wembley stage TV feed to temporarily fail. The broadcast did return as the last verse of "Pinball Wizard" was played. John Entwistle's bass wouldn't work at the beginning, causing a delay of over a minute because they couldn't start playing. The band played with Kenny Jones on drums, and it was their first performance since disbanding after a 1982 farewell, one of their many farewell tours. The Who's performance was described as rough but right by the Rolling Stones, but they wouldn't perform together again for another 3 years. At 32 minutes, Elton John had the longest set of the day, and his set list included the first performance ever of Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me with George Michael. While performing Let It Be, well, we talked about that little malfunction. Yeah. The conclusion of the Wembley performance, Geldof was raised onto the shoulders of the Who's Pete Townsend and Paul McCartney. Geldof stated that he hadn't slept in weeks in the lead up to the concert, and when asked what his plans were post Live Aid, he told an interviewer, "I'm going to go home and sleep." Anyway, there we go. People had a lot of contempt, by the way, for the speakers at the Wembley show. At JFK, the host of the JFK portion of the concert, the televised portion in Philadelphia, actor Jack Nicholson. The opening artist was Joan Baez, and she announced to the crowd, "This is your Woodstock, and it's long overdue," before leading the crowd in singing Amazing Grace and We Are the World. Let me get another picture here. This is the front of Wembley Stadium. I couldn't find a good picture of the inside, sorry. Despite the 95-degree temperatures, Madonna proclaimed, "I ain't taking off blank today," during her set, referring to the recent release of early unclothed photos of her in a few men's magazines. During his opening number, American Girl, Tom Petty made a rather unkind gesture to someone off stage about 1 minute into the song. He stated the song was a last-minute addition when the band realized they would be the first act to play the American side of the concert after the London finale, and since this is, after all, JFK Stadium. When Bob Dylan broke a guitar string while playing the Rolling Stones song with Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood, Wood took off his own guitar and handed it to Dylan. Wood was left standing on stage with no guitar. After shrugging to the audience, he played air guitar, even mimicking the Who's Pete Townsend by swinging his arm in wide circles until a stagehand brought him a replacement. The performance was included in the DVD, including the guitar switch and Wood talking to stagehands, but much of the footage used was close-ups of either Dylan or Keith Richards. During their duet on the reprise of It's Only Rock and Roll, Mick Jagger ripped away part of Tina Turner's dress, leaving her to finish the song in what was effectively a leotard. Now, the JFK portion included the following reunions: the reunion of Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, the original Black Sabbath with Ozzy Osbourne, the Beach Boys with Brian Wilson, and surviving members of Led Zeppelin with Phil Collins and the Power Station member, Tony Thompson, sharing duties on drums in place of the band's late drummer, John Bonham. Although they weren't even officially announced by their group name from the stage, but were announced as Led Zeppelin on the VH1 10th anniversary rebroadcast some 10 years later. Teddy Pendergrass made his first public appearance since his near-fatal car accident in 1982, which paralyzed him. Pendergrass, along with Ashford and Simpson, performed Reach Out and Touch. Bryan Adams, who came on after Judas Priest, there's a clash in styles, recalled it was bedlam backstage before performing a 4-song set, including Summer of '69. Duran Duran performed a 4-song set, which was the final time the 5 original band members would publicly perform until 2003. Their set saw a weak off-key falsetto by frontman Simon Le Bon during A View to a Kill. The error was dubbed the bum note heard round the world, in contrast to Freddie Mercury's note heard round the world at Wembley. Le Bon later recalled it was the most embarrassing moment of his career. The UK feed from Philadelphia had an intermittent buzzing on the sound during Bryan Adams' turn on stage, and continued less frequently during the rest of the UK reception of the American concert. And the audio and video feed failed entirely during that performance and during the Simple Minds performance. Phil Collins, who had remained in London earlier, began his solo set with the quip, "I was in England this afternoon. Funny old world, isn't it?" And the Philadelphia crowd went wild. Collins played drums during Eric Clapton's 17-minute set, which included well-received performances of Layla and White Room. So there you are. Hold on, I've got more for you. I've been saying Washington, D.C. For the JFK. It's actually Philadelphia. My bad. I guess I kind of suck. Well, to the more than 76 people watching us right now, gotta say, welcome to the Tom Gully Show. You can go to thetomgullyshow.com. There's 270 podcasts there. I hope you enjoy one of them. If you'd like some of our merch, it's there. Or you can go to cafepress.com/the Tom Gully Show. Or you can donate to us, and we'd love it. We're not monetized yet. If you just go to paypal.me/Tom Gully Show, or you can go to Patreon and get all the stuff I'm way too scared to put on the internet. It's all down there in the crawl. Happy to have you here. You guys rock. Throughout the concerts, viewers were urged to donate money to the Live Aid cause. The BBC operated 300 phone lines so that members of the public could make donations using their credit cards. The phone number and an address that viewers could send checks to were repeated every 20 minutes. Nearly 7 hours into the concert in London, Bob Geldof inquired how much money had been raised so far. He was told £1.2 million. He's said to have been sorely disappointed by the amount and marched to the BBC commentary position, pumped up by a performance by Queen, which he later called absolutely amazing, and why shouldn't he? It was. Geldof gave an interview in which BBC presenter David Hepworth had attempted to provide a postal address to, which potential donations could be sent. Geldof interrupted him mid-flow and shouted, "Blank the address, let's get the numbers." Although the phrase, "give us your blanking money," has passed into folklore, Geldof has said that it was never uttered. Private Eye magazine made a great humorous capital out of this outburst, emphasizing Geldof's Irish accent, which meant profanities heard as, I can't even say them. After the outburst, donations increased to £300 per second. Later in the evening, following David Bowie's set, a video shot by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation was shown to the audiences in London and Philadelphia, as well as on televisions around the world, though neither U.S. feed showed this film, showing starving and diseased children set to drive by the cars, which seems a little odd to me, but the rate of donations became faster in the aftermath of this video. Geldof had previously refused to allow the video to be shown due to time constraints, and it only relented when Bowie offered to drop the song 5 years from his set as trade-off. Geldof mentioned during the concert that the Republic of Ireland gave the most donations per capita, despite being in the midst of a serious economic depression. The largest donation came from Rashid bin Saeed Al Maktoum, who was part of the ruling family of Dubai, who donated £1 million in a phone conversation with Geldof. The next day, news reports stated that between 40 and 50 million pounds had been raised. It is now estimated that around 150 million pounds in total had been raised for famine relief as a direct result of the concerts. I'm just going to go through the performances here, and these names will mean something to some of you, but I'm going to tell you right now, these were the biggest names. You have to remember that during the 85 sort of time frame, the UK was huge in the United States because of the New Wave movement. That still had not died out yet from its early beginnings in the very late 70s and early 80s. And so all these UK bands were gigantic, and the advent of MTV helped with that a great deal. So these are the UK bands, all right? So I mentioned Status Quo. The next band was the Style Council. Come on, boomers, you remember the Style Council. Then the Boomtown Rats. Then Adamant, who was gigantic. Ultravox. Spandau Ballet. Oh, man. Spandau Ballet. You may remember them from their big hit, True. Nick Kershaw, who was big over in England. Sade, whose probably his biggest hit is Smooth Operator. Sting, Phil Collins, and Branford Marsalis got on stage, and they performed Roxanne, Against All Odds, which is a Phil Collins song. Message in a Bottle, Sting did that one, a big Police hit. In the Air Tonight, we got to remember that one from Phil Collins. And then Every Breath You Take, and they all got together for that song. Howard Jones got on, and, he was a British new waver. Brian Ferry with David Gilmour from Roxy Music got on board and performed. Paul Young probably had a big hit with the cover of Every Time You Go Away. He also did the intro to Do They Know It's Christmas because he was one of the writers of that song. U2 then got on board, and they, of course, that was kind of their coming out party, really, was U2. Made global stars of them. They did Sunday Bloody Sunday, and then they did Bad. The Dire Straits came out, and they did Money for Nothing with Sting, and then Sultans of Swing. Queen came out. Come on, just if you haven't seen the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, just go on to YouTube. You'll find a million reaction videos. You may indeed be able to find the actual footage by itself, unadulterated, from Live Aid. Again, voted the greatest live rock performance of all time back in 2005. David Bowie got up and he did that song that I told you I love so much by Bowie that unless you're a Bowie fan, you may not have heard it over here in the U.S. My TVC15. My TVC15. Then he did Rebel Rebel. Then he did Modern Love. And then he did Heroes. The Who did My Generation, Pinball Wizard, Love Reign Over Me, and then Won't Get Fooled Again. Elton John, as we mentioned, had the longest concert time in the UK. He did I'm Still Standing. He did my favorite, well, it's hard to say favorite Elton John song, but he did Benny and the Jets. Benny and the Jets, my first purchases of a single, of 45, for those of you old enough to remember them, I bought Shining Star by Earth, Wind & Fire and Benny and the Jets by Elton John. Rocket Man, Don't Go Breaking My Heart. Kiki D, who's big in England and had a big hit with Elton John in a duet doing Don't Go Breaking My Heart. You can see that video for sure online. Kiki D came out and did it with him. Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me with Wham! And then Can I Get a Witness? Freddie Mercury and Brian May then came out and did Is This the World We Created? And then, of course, Paul McCartney came out, did Let It Be with all those technical errors. And Band-Aid, which was that super group similar to USA for Africa over in the UK. And they did Do They Know It's Christmas? Jack Nicholson introduced U2 and The Who. Billy Connolly, some of you may recognize him. He's a well-known actor and comedian. And then John Hurt, a British actor, introduced Freddie Mercury and Brian May. So there we go. In Philadelphia, Joan Baez, as we mentioned, started it off. She, of course, a famous protest singer from the 60s, did Amazing Grace and We Are the World. The Hooters came out and did And We Danced. And they did that. The Four Tops came out, the legendary Four Tops, who are kind of a R&B group from Detroit, a great pop group. They did Shake Me, Wake Me, Bernadette, It's the Same Old Song. And they did Reach Out and I'll Be There, Reach Out. And then they did I Can't Help Myself, which is actually probably known to you as Sugar Pie Honey Bunch. Billy Ocean came out and he did his giant hit, Caribbean Queen. And then he did Loverboy. Black Sabbath came out. All you metalheads, they did Children of the Grave. They did Iron Man. They did Paranoid. And yes, Ozzy Osbourne was with him. That's how huge this concert was. Nobody wanted to be left out. Run DMC came out, did J Master J and King of Rock. Rick Springfield did Love Somebody, State of the Heart, Human Touch. He did not do Jesse's Girl, Darn the Luck. REO Speedwagon did I Can't Fight This Feeling Anymore. And they also did Roll with the Changes. Crosby, Stills, and Nash came out. They did Southern Cross, Teach Your Children Well, and Sweet Judy Blue Eyes. And that, of course, was a reunion for them. And then Neil Young was with them. It was actually Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Judas Priest came out then, metalheads, and said, Living After Midnight, the Green Manalishi, and You've Got Another Thing Coming. Bryan Adams, of course, did Summer of '69, Tears Are Not Enough, and It Cuts Like a Knife, and It Feels So Right. Beach Boys did California Girls, Help Me Rhonda, Wouldn't It Be Nice, Good Vibrations, and Surfin' USA. Wow, that's a great Beach Boys lineup of songs. George Thorogood and the Delaware Destroyers, by this time just known as George Thorogood and the Destroyers, did Who Do You Love? And Bo Diddley, who did the song originally, came out and joined them on the song. He did The Sky Is Crying, and then the Madison Blues with Albert Collins. Blues legend Albert Collins came out and joined George Thorogood with his Slide. Loves me some George Thorogood. Simple Minds came out and did Ghost Dancing, Don't You Forget About Me, that big hit that was part of the Breakfast Club, and then Promised You a Miracle. The Pretenders came out and did Time the Avenger, Message of Love, Stop Your Sobbing, Back on the Chain Gang, and Middle of the Road. That is a mega set by the Pretenders. Carlos Santana came out with Pat Metheny on saxophone. They did Brotherhood, Primera Invasion, Open Invitation, By the Pool, and Right Now. Ashford and Simpson, the legendary soul group, with Teddy Pendergrass, did Solid and Reach Out and Touch. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Madonna did Holiday, Into the Groove, and Love Makes the World Go Round with the Thompson Twins and Nile Rodgers. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. This thing just never stops giving. They came out and did American Girl, The Waiting, which is, of course, the hardest part, Rebels, and You Don't Have to Live Like a Refugee. Kenny Loggins then followed up with Footloose. Then there was the Cars with You Might Think I'm Crazy, Drive, I Guess You're Just What I Needed, and Heartbeat City. Neil Young, okay, this is when I get to do my Neil Young impersonation, came out and did Oh, to Live on Sugar Mountain. He also did I've Seen the Needle and the Damage Done. And he did Helpless, Helpless, Helpless. Did Nothing Perfect in God's Plan and Powderfinger. The Power Station came on and did Murderous, and then Get It On, Bang a Gong, Get It On. Thompson Twins came out and did Hold Me Now. Oh, hold me now. And Revolution. They were joined by Madonna, Steve Stevens, and Nile Rodgers. Eric Clapton then takes the stage with Phil Collins. Did White Room, She's Waiting, and Layla. Phil Collins then had his set with Against All Odds, which you know better as And Take a Look at Me Now. Sorry about the singing, folks. And In the Air Tonight. Then Led Zeppelin with Phil Collins. Rock and Roll, Whole Lot of Love. And, of course, Stairway to Heaven. Then Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. You had CSN, and then CSNY comes out and does Only Love Can Break Your Heart. And they did Daylight again, which was combined with Find the Cost of Freedom. Then that somewhat unfortunate set by Duran Duran. They did View to a Kill, The Union of the Snake, and they did Say a Prayer. And the Reflex, the Reflex. Patti LaBelle of the band LaBelle, famous for Lady Marmalade. She came out and did New Attitude, Imagine, Forever Young, Stir It Up, Over the Rainbow, and Why Can't I Get It Over. Hall & Oates came out then. They did Out of Touch, Out of Touch. They did Maneater, Oh, Here She Comes. They did Get Ready with Eddie Kendricks. They did Ain't Too Proud to Beg with David Ruffin. They did The Way You Do the Things You Do. And then they did My Girl with Eddie Kendricks and David Ruffin, who are famous songwriters and performers from the Motown sort of era. Mick Jagger came out. Tina Turner joined him. did Lonely at the Top, Just Another Night, Miss You, State of Shock with Tina Turner, and It's Only Rock and Roll, but I like it, yes I do. Then came Bob Dylan, Keith Richards, and Ronnie Wood. They did the Ballad of Hollis Brown, When the Ship Comes In, and then The Answer, My Friend, is Blowing in the Wind. And then the whole thing was finished up with USA for Africa, along with the crowd, no doubt, and We Are the World. So Bill Graham, who's just a legendary rock promoter, introduced Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson introduced a whole bunch of people. Chevy Chase and Joe Piscopo from Saturday Night Live introduced the Hooters. Chevy Chase introduced the Four Tops, Billy Ocean, Black Sabbath, REO Speedwagon, Judas Priest, David Bowie, Kenny Loggins, Duran Duran. Joe Piscopo introduced Run DMC, Rick Springfield, Simple Minds, and Neil Young. Marilyn McCoo from Marilyn McCoo and you know Marilyn McCoo. Introduced the Beach Boys. George Segal, the actor, introduced George Thorogood. Grace Slick, yes, from Jefferson Airplane, introduced the Pretenders. Bette Midler was there. She introduced Madonna, the Thompson Twins, Patti LaBelle, Mick Jagger, and the Cars. Don Johnson of Miami Vice and Django Unchained. He introduced Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers and the Power Station. Jack Nicholson and Bette Midler introduced Phil Collins. Phil Collins introduced Led Zeppelin. And Dionne Warwick introduced Hall and Oates. I am sure that we are going to get to some of our comments here in just a second. But I'm going to tell you about some notable absences from Live Aid. Bruce Springsteen decided not to appear at Live Aid despite his huge global popularity at the time. Geldof had originally scheduled the event for July, but moved the date to the 13th to accommodate Springsteen. Springsteen later expressed regret at turning down his invitation, saying he simply did not realize how big the whole thing was going to be, and he regretted not performing an acoustic set. During the MTV broadcast, VJ Martha Quinn repeatedly and mistakenly claimed that Springsteen would in fact make an appearance. Michael Jackson, who was probably the biggest star in the world at the time, decided not to appear. His press agent released a statement saying that Jackson was working around the clock in the studio on a project it's a major commitment to and couldn't free up the time, and added Michael is just about living in the studio, and that was his reason. Prince decided not to appear in person, but he did send a pre-taped video of an acoustic version of For the Tears in Your Eyes, which was played during the Philadelphia concert. Culture Club leader Boy George didn't want to take part. He feared that Culture Club would not measure up, to performing in front of 2 billion people that were watching this. And a lot of people thought he didn't think they'd measure up against that level of mega talent. Huey Lewis and the News were scheduled to play the Philadelphia portion and were in some of the promotional materials, but decided about 2 weeks before the show to pull out over concerns the money raised by the relief effort had not been reaching the people it was intended to help. Huey said it was a tough decision, but that's what they did, and there you go. Harry Belafonte, by the way, who had organized USA for Africa, was very harsh toward Huey Lewis about this, and I guess they subsequently made up. Annie Lennox, vocalist of the Eurythmics, who had that big hit with Sweet Dreams Are Made of This, had to pull out due to a serious throat infection, and she later appeared at Live 8, which was a sort of a reunion of Live Aid. Cliff Richards, who was a giant star in the UK, said he was unable to perform as he'd already committed to a gospel charity account in Birmingham the same day. A reunited Deep Purple were supposed to appear from Switzerland by a satellite, but pulled out after Ritchie Blackmore refused to take part. UB40 singer Al Campbell admitted his band was ignored by Geldof while planning the list of acts and said we just weren't asked to do it. Thin Lizzy keyboard player Darren Wharton had regrets about not being asked to perform. It should have been a turning point for lead singer Phil Lynott, and apparently that sent Phil into a spiral, and he ended up dying sometime later. Neil Peart, drummer for Rush, said Geddy Lee was involved with the Northern Lights charity in Canada, and it was an in-crowd situation, and we were not part of the crowd. There's a lot I could tell you about the recordings that took place on all the DVDs that are available, including the Live Aid DVD, the official one. The most complete footage that exists is used from the BBC. That's the main source of this DVD, so some of the stuff in the USA concert is not on it. It's a little bit controversial that there is not one giant grand master version of this. So there were very judicious decisions made on who would be included, who would not, because of the technical difficulties, absence of original footage, or music rights reasons. Rick Springfield's The Four Tops, The Hooters, The Power Station, Billy Ocean, Kool and the Gang were completely left off. Several artists who did feature on the DVD also had songs that were omitted from the DVD. Madonna had 3 solo songs in the concert, only 2 in the DVD, and the list goes on. You know, there's a lot of stuff that was omitted from that DVD. Now, there is official Live Aid audio that was released by the Band Aid Trust in 2018 on digital download, and guess what? Queen's performance was excluded. Don't worry, the band set was later included as part of the digital download about a year later, and has a total of 93 audio tracks on that audio. YouTube launched the official Live Aid channel with a total of 87 videos, which is really pretty good for the concert. And all the earnings from the viewings go to the Band Aid Trust. A few notable performances are not included, but Queen's set, yes, has been uploaded to the channel and is available for viewing. I highly suggest, if you've never seen it, that you should go see it. Because the Live Aid broadcast was watched by 1.5 billion people at least, most of the footage was recorded on home consumer video recorders around the world in various qualities. By 85, you know, I had a VCR. A lot of people had VCRs, and some people still had Sony Betamax machines. Many of these are in mono because at the time, most home machines could only record in mono, and because the European BBC TV broadcast was broadcast in mono. The USMTV broadcast, the ABC radio network, and the BBC One radio broadcast were in stereo. And these recordings circulated amongst collectors and in recent years have appeared on the internet in sharing networks. So Live Aid eventually raised $127 million. That's $350 million 2022 dollars for famine relief. And many artists gained prominence and positive commercial influence. No Jacket Required by Phil Collins and Madonna's Like a Virgin leapt into the top 10. Queen's 3-year-old greatest hits rose 55 places into the top 20. Okay, every U2 album available at the time also returned into the top of the charts. In 1985, Geldof received an honorary knighthood from Queen Elizabeth II for his efforts, and the nurse who featured in a news report that sparked aid relief movement received the Florence Nightingale Medal in 1991 and was made a dame by Queen Elizabeth II. Queen's performance at Live Aid was later recreated in Bohemian Rhapsody. Footage from the original performance can be seen to match very accurately with the movie performance. The background to the staging of the concert as a whole was dramatized in a television drama, you know, the sort of behind the scenes, what made it happen, called When Harvey Met Bob. Harvey, the promoter, Bob, the musician. And in November of last year, Geldof stated that a 6-part miniseries about Live Aid was being produced by Disney, as well as an IMAX format theatrical documentary from Geldof himself. A jukebox musical on the day called Just for One Day, named after a line from the Bowie song Heroes, which he performed at the event, will have its world premiere at the Old Vic in London any day now. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen. Did it as quick as I could. We only got 12 minutes left, and we have to be out because Replayables on the Shuli Network, which I highly recommend you watch, is going to be happening at 8 Eastern, and then at 9 Eastern, the boys themselves will have a very special episode of Uncle Rico on the Shuley Network. I'd like to ask you once again to go to the Tom Gully Show. There's 270 incredible podcasts there. One of them, you have to like one of them, for crying out loud. I hope. And you can also go to that page, and there's plenty of our merch, like the old clock there. And there's our 20-ounce, let me see if I can make it happen here, our 20-ounce mug, which everybody loves, the 20-ounce giant mug of coffee. Oh, well, I guess I don't really need to show it that badly. No, I guess I'll show it. There you go. That's a 20-ounce mug there. That's a trash can with a handle on it, people. Check that out. And then, of course, we are not monetized. We're about 500 hours away. And if you'd like to go to paypal.me/Tom Gully Show, we would really appreciate it because we don't make no money on this. You know what I'm saying? But we appreciate some support. Helps us do the show and everything like that. I'd like to say to the 100 people watching right now, man, it means so much that you're watching. And I can't tell you how gratifying it is. And thank you so much for spending your time with us. And I will get through these chats as quick as I can. Normally we go a little longer and take calls, but I don't think we're going to be able to do that this time. And here we go. Yes. Yeah. Julian Zezer corrected me. Yes, I was saying Philadelphia. It was not Philadelphia. Sorry, it was Philadelphia. It was not D.C. I ain't that smart sometimes. I was born ignorant, and I've been losing ground ever since. Joker says JFK. Yeah, okay, I got it. Lyndon says, good evening. Hello, Lyndon. Brett's Hollywood show says there's a rumor Brett Hollywood is in the chat. I've heard that. The DDLD says if the Ethiopians would have just listened to Sam Kinison, Mood with the Food, yes, I know, but we wouldn't have the concert then. Think about it that way. Jokerfish says Frank turned Live Aid down, said it was a money laundering scam. The DDLD said back when we still had the Concorde. Yes, we already did our show on the Concorde, so there you go. Terry Neese says saw The Who, Santana, and The Clash together at JFK in 1982. That rocks. And you're welcome. Signed, The Boomers. You're welcome. If you can find a better rock concert lineup than this, including Woodstock, I'll eat my hat or get a better haircut, one of the two. By the way, scene behind me, of course, we do specialized backgrounds for each show. That is the JFK show at night. There's Zaku Mugen says, if you want to hear the saddest song, have an ice cream truck back up for a while. I hate that ice cream truck. Joker says, Phil Collins bummed with Zeppelin. Yeah. Folks saying hi to each other. DDLD says, saw Monsters of Rock at JFK, the Jackson Victory Tour. Don't judge me. I don't judge it. That's some music. Terry says, get your water hose and spray down the ice cream truck. For some of you viewers, the ice cream truck comes by my house every day and ruins the show. And doesn't sell any ice cream, by the way. So there's a guy smoking a cigarette and just, it's a long story. Run DMC rocked the house. They did. Run DMC did a great job. Bring out the fire hose. Yeah. People hate the ice cream guy. I'm not fond of the ice cream guy myself, but I remember Woodstock. Nothing can beat that concert. It was incredible. Rev says, you went to Woodstock. Jerry Lahane says, tell me woo. Okay, woo. Oh, tell me why. Tell me why. I don't know, Jerry. The Reverend Wild Bill says, I am that old. Physically or mentally. I don't know what he's talking about. Hey, Joker, R.I.P. Freddie. Yes, R.I.P. Freddie indeed. Bill, do you remember the day the music died? It was in, 1958, Clear Lake, Iowa. We did a show about that already, by the way, too. American Pie. Bye-bye, American Pie. Yeah, it would have been nice to have Don McLean out there. Karen Garvey, you may know her as Doopa-Doopa-Doo, says you could have been one of the little kids I see in the Woodstock photo. Reverend Wild Bill says, bye-bye, Miss American Pie. That's the day the music died. Ronald Bateman says, Gully Heads. That's the unofficial title some people have for followers of this show. I prefer Gullerinos. Ronald J. Bateman, by the way, has been to the condo for Bushmills. Reverend Wild Bill says, I was a teen at Woodstock. Reverend Wild Bill says, right before I went into the Army in November, my going away party. Wow, I hope you didn't try the brown acid. Terry Nee says, in 1985, I wasn't about to go to a concert with Live Aid. Yeah. The Wolf has joined us. Kim Warfield says, what's really up, everybody? Ronald J. Bateman says, Bob Geldof was great in The Wall. It's definitely a 5-bag movie. People saying hi to each other, hi to each other, hi to each other, questioning each other, hi to each other. Birth date there. Then somebody disclosing their age. There's 2 birth certificates. Nat King Cole COVID. Nat King COVID, sorry. The reflex is a lonely sign. Kim Warfield says bizarre. The reflex, Duran Duran, yes. Jerry Lane says, I ghost wrote for U2, Stones, Plant, Page, Hooters, Petty. Yeah, you've ghost written for a lot of people, Jerry. We're going to have to IMDb you. Reverend Wild Bill says, I was adopted with one and they found the real one, so I chose the one that I needed. Great side story about Reverend Wild Bill's illegitimate birth records. Nat King COVID is laughing, 1961, and still having fun. Well, that's the way you're supposed to do it. And Dylan. See, Diana O'Brien, who's from over the pond in the Blighty and all of that. She's from Shrewsbury, Shropshire. She says, hey, I'm back from the food shop, a detour. Cool. To the pub. All right. That's the way it's done here on a Friday night. Reverend Wild Bill says, evening, Diana. People saying hi to each other. We love a cheerful chat room. The Wolf says, I'm going to listen, but I have to finish my chest workout. The Wolf is an amazing bodybuilder. He's won many, many awards for that. Terry Nee says, move. It's a dessert. It's a dessert topping. It's a floor wax. Diane O'Brien says, so many happy memories of the mood, music, and the life. Folks saying hi. Love Pat Metheny. Isn't Pat Metheny incredible? Tim Jenkinson, who's also from over the pond, says, how much money do they need to raise for Africa for it's not a mess anymore? Doesn't matter how much they need. We're gonna do it. All the money just seems to be spent on nice cars for the leaders there. I think this money did actually feed people. Ronald J. Bateman, Bob Geldof was very, very into how they were spending the money. Ronald J. Bateman says, that's a great Neil Young impression. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate being appreciated for my Neil Young impression. I've got 4.5 minutes, and then it's time for replayables. Neil Young, I was thinking Edith Bunker. And you know when you were there. Anyway, Queen were by far the best. I don't think anybody's going to argue with you there. DDLD says Slayer was absent. So is Winger. Thank God. Julian Zeezer says the pre-show buzz was all about Zeppelin getting back together, but their performance was underwhelming. Well, but they were there together. Michael Jackson didn't care about Africa at all. Bog, my good friend Bog is here. Bog, you rock. It is nice to see you. Tim Jenkins says that was a valid concern because charity money never seemed to benefit the people it's raised for. That does frequently happen, but Bob Geldorf was all over that. The DDLD said, I thought Live Aid was a bunch of obese people taunting Ethiopians while eating at a buffet. No, that's not what it was. Aku Mugen says, what's your favorite whiskey or brew? Ronald J. Beeman, I fell asleep at a Rush concert. Well, the Reverend Wild Bill, it would be Tarantula Azul, blue tequila. Well, okay. I like Tom, only drink for special times. I don't drink at all, hardly. We were there, Tom, back in the day. Such cool, moving tunes. Yes, Diana. You're welcome. Signed the Boomers. 12 minutes to the top of the hour. Man, I have got to rock and roll here. Man, I'm so glad so many people chose to watch our little show today. If you could like, share, subscribe, that don't cost nothing. Don't cost you nothing at all, especially those likes. And we'd like it if you came back. So, check it out, and hopefully we can do some shows that you like, and you'll find out from the people that are in the room every day. If you give me a topic, I will do a show on it. Akamugan says, don't know what... Okay, you're talking about booze. Girth Brooks says, any ladies in those podcasts out of the 86? I don't know. Jaeger's cough medicine. You guys are talking about booze. I got to get through. See, Comic Relief here in the UK has raised $1.5 billion for Africa. I don't know how much Comic Relief here has done, but it's pretty good. Tom's a good speed reader. Julian Zeezer says Tom's vocal cords are moving a mile a minute. 2.5 minutes left, and we did it. Thank you all for being here. I was happy to be able to tell you about Live Aid if you knew about it already, or maybe you didn't know the things that I told you, or some of the things I told you. It's always nice to go over these events and get down to brass tacks and get into those little minutiae, the little deep cut information, and that's what we like to bring you when we say, let me tell you about whatever the topic is. So thanks for being here. That's really awesome. There's a partner of ours, not really a partner, we're just good friends with them, called the Shuli Network. And there's going to be a show coming on in 2 minutes on the Shuli Network called Replayables. If you could tell them Tom Gully sent you, you're going to get to see crazy videos that they've scoured from the internet. Wacky, crazy, people doing really stupid things. You will laugh, and they drink a lot. And I'd say you have a 50% chance of seeing somebody hurl. Yes, actually hurl during their show. I'm not joking right now. People hurl on that show. I'm going to go ahead and end this thing up so you can hear my outro song, which hopefully a lot of you new people will enjoy. And hopefully you've enjoyed the program today. You know, not every one of these is a home run, but we do our best. And that's all we can do, right? No matter who you are, no matter where you are, hope you have a fabulous, most incredible weekend. And I guess the only thing left to say is, till next time, we'll see you next time.